So today we should talk about bailouts. Who gets bailed out and who doesn't? The last big bailout was of banks. The bankers all flew to Washington in their private jets and begged for money so they wouldn't go under. The government did it because they guaranteed a lot of accounts, and banking is essential. But they did it without putting any sanction on the crooked bankers. So after the companies got bailed out, the banks got bailed out, you had people like Bank of America peddling false accounts and all kinds of things like that. You had a savings and loan scandal. There was the BCCI scandal where the CIA and other people laundered money. The whole system was corrupt, so why would we bail out a corrupt system? Well, I suppose it might be good to bail out the corrupt system as long as we took all of the people responsible for it out of circulation, making it so they could never hold a position of trust again because they weren't trustworthy. I wouldn't have objected to that kind of a bailout. Now we have a lot of people in this country with no assets. We have a lot of people in this country that live paycheck to paycheck. We have a lot of people in this country that need help. If they don't get help, they'll starve, or they develop things like rickets or dysentery or all kinds of diseases. Already they're afraid to go to the emergency room because they might catch the virus. And if they're a certain age or more, the mortality rate is very high. So what does the government do? They bail out big corporations and let the people fend for themselves. Why bail out corporations? Corporations have assets that they can pledge. People don't. Corporations can issue stock. People don't. The reason the corporations don't want to issue stock is the people that have stock already might get diluted. So instead of making $1 million a year on profits on their stock, they only make $800,000. But they do so at the expense of the working people. Over the years, there has been a dismantling of consciousness of people that have to work for a living. They worship those that have money. They feel that they can get to that point. They don't realize that the deck is stacked against them. So they're out there believing all the bullshit propaganda that's passed down, the trickle-down theories, and worship of the rich. And it's kind of funny because the rich really are just part of a bureaucratic empire called a corporation. And the bureaucratic empire has no conscience. They don't have any consciousness even. And most of them fit the legal definition of insanity. They don't know right from wrong. And even if they do, they can't refrain from doing wrong or project right. And that's because the courts have said that the only purpose of a corporation is to make money and the bottom line is to the shareholders, which is a total distortion of history. Corporations were formed initially to perform public services, to perform things that were in the best interest of the people, of the citizenry, of the community. The first corporations were in this country like the Erie Canal Project. The people that put up the money, of course, were entitled to compensation, but they couldn't escape liability for their commercial enterprise just to make money for the shareholders. They had to serve some purpose. Likewise, media had to have a public purpose in order to get a license to use a certain bandwidth. All of that has gone by the wayside. It's a complete free-for-all out there, And the people with the less ethics, the people with the less morality, the more selfish people get the benefits, and the rest of us have to suck hind tit. That's wrong, and people should see it's wrong. And I don't understand why people don't see it's wrong. The ancient Greeks had a way of dealing with that. It was called ostracism. In the medieval times, they made pigs wear pig masks. You can see examples of that, for instance, in the Medieval Crime Museum in Rottenburg, Germany. So society essentially punished those that took advantage of the weak, the ignorant, and disadvantaged. If you screwed your community and your fellow citizens, you were ostracized, or outlawed as it later became in medieval times. If you cheated, like the baker who shorted people on the bakery goods, or the miller who shorted the farmers on their flour that was milled, or anything like that, they were put in stocks. So they were forced to wear masks. They were identified as cheats and dishonorable and people to be avoided. I think we ought to do the same thing with corporate executives. Corporate executives that pack boxes with bricks and sell them out as products in order to boost their sales records and stock at least ought to be ostracized and prevented from being able to do it again instead of rewarded. Corporate executives that cut various safety precautions in building an airplane, whereas people die. The corporation has to pay maybe some compensation, but the executives are free to do it again. They shouldn't be. They were given a position of trust and they violated the trust. Screw them. Get rid of them. Ostracize them. Move them all to Antarctica, the modern day equivalent of Australia, I suppose, like they did with miscreant Englishmen on prison ships. But instead, we reward people like this because we think they're shrewd businessmen. Well, I don't think that's the case. They're not shrewd businessmen. They're fucking criminals, and they should be treated as such. So it's time that we band together and view our society as a collective and get rid of the outlaws that prey upon us and exploit us, lie to us, cheat us, and steal from us. We should not tolerate such behavior, and we shouldn't tolerate a government that does either. We should weed out the people with no conscience. We should weed out the people that have no concept of right or wrong. We should weed out the insane. We should weed out the insanity of corporate America. That's the only way we're going to survive. Thank you.